How much are your sports cards worth? This is by far the #1 question I get asked all the time, especially by new collectors or someone that just came into a massive collection and just has no idea where to start. The good news is it's actually pretty easy to find out how much a card's worth, so I'm going to walk you through how to do this. But before I dive in, there's actually two very important factors you need to consider before even attempting this. #1, there's a couple of terms that are going to seem weird to you if you're a new collector. That's raw and slabbed. A raw card is simply a card that has been removed from a pack and nothing else has happened to it. It's just a piece of cardboard. That is a raw card in its original state. Slabbed means that it's been encapsulated in plastic by one of the grading companies and likely given a grade. And if it's been slabbed, this is important because it changes the value considerably and also makes the value easier to determine. The second factor is the card autographed? Should be easy to tell. Just take a look at it. If it is, this changes the value a lot and adds a bit more complexity to understanding it. All right. If you're a new collector or a seasoned collector, you will know what eBay is. It's obviously still the biggest marketplace in the world for sports cards, and it's also a great place to find out the values of cards. So this is where I would start if you're sitting on a card. We're going to use one specific example because I think that'll be super helpful to kind of thread through this entire exercise. It's the 1990 Skybox Michael Jordan card. So if we go into eBay, we're going to type that in, Skybox Michael Jordan. You're going to get a lot of stuff here. You know, slab cards, raw cards. You got one that's raw right here. So if you're sitting on a card that's raw, you want to find the value. Okay, so right now it looks like that value is $2. But if it's a PSA 10, it's around 188. This isn't the best way to determine value. I'll get to sold sales in a minute. Before I do, I wanted to show you one cool trick. So you've got a mix of slabbed and raw cards here, but if you just go minus PSA in the search terms, boom, you have removed PSA. You get some weird grading companies, but you're likely going to see mostly raw cards. I don't know why on earth this is listed for 35, but you'll see raw, so it gets a lot easier. Now I'm going to show you the most important step. This is like the most important of the entire video. All right, we're going to go down to this little box here, sold items. You click on that. That tells you what it actually sold for. This card raw is selling for $1. These were massively overproduced, but I love Skybox, so I don't actually mind. I think this is a super iconic card, and I love the picture. But anyway, the raw card value is $1. Now let's go back to the search, okay? We're going to do PSA 10, all right? So the PSA 10 looks like it's selling for 150 to 180, something in that range, 175 bucks maybe. We'll call that the average. So if you're sitting on this cart, just take a look at it and see what kind of condition is this in. And look at the centering, look at the back, look at the front, look at the surface, the corners, everything. If you think it's got a shot at a 10, then potentially it could be worth this value, but you'll need to send it in to be graded to find that out. But this is a very quick way. You literally have a card, and right now you know it's worth like $1 or $2. So that's super helpful. And now you've also seen if it's slabbed by PSA, especially a 10, that it's got a very different value. Now, what about a PSA 9? I'm going to also show you the difference between a 9 and a 10. So we have SGC here. We've got a PSA 8 that sold for 13 bucks. PSA 7 sold for 12. Here's a 9 right here, $26. So you've got a wide range. You've got a raw card that's $1. In a PSA 9, it's 26, and in a PSA 10, it's 180. I'm going to be frank right now with you guys. It's very difficult to get a 10 on these cards, almost impossible. So very unlikely you'll get one, but that's not the point of this exercise. I just wanted to show you how you could see the value of a raw card or a slabbed card, especially in different grades. So there's another cool website called 130 Point. People use this most of the time at card shows. You'll see dealers reference this a lot. It's a little bit better than eBay, although I've found the search function to be not as good as eBay. But in terms of the data that it captures, this includes not only eBay, but also some of the major auction houses like Golden Auctions and Heritage. So if you got something that's a little bit rare or a little bit more high end that doesn't just do the volume that's on eBay, this is a good place to start. So you want to go here, you can see search eBay sales for all marketplace sales. We're going to click on all marketplace. Scroll down, and this is where you enter in, Michael Jordan Skybox 1980. And you can see all the eBay sales here. It's a nice quick way to get there. If you want to look for more high-end type stuff on here to pull in auction houses, you can go Michael Jordan 1986 Fleer signed. This is a bit more high-end item. So you can see this is Golden Auctions. So it's pulling from Golden. It's pulling from Heritage. It's got the year. This was actually very recent, July 2024. The sticker sold for 26. And then up here, you've got Golden Auctions sold this authentic one for 20 grand just a couple of weeks ago. Now, there are a lot of fancy apps out there, but I found that they're not really perfect. I don't love the search queries, and they're a little bit biased towards certain cards and sets. So once I've exhausted eBay and 130 point, I actually get a bit more creative. If it's not on either of these, you've probably got a pretty rare card or special card or just like a rare autograph or something like that. There's not a lot of public data, and a lot of the sales that are conducted with these cards, especially on the high end, are private. The cash deals or the deals between friends, and that's not going to show up on eBay or 130 point. So the question is, like, how do we get this information, to value a card that I have? The answer is to literally ask around. So if you go on Facebook, there's groups like 1986 Fleer Basketball, and you could just literally put a question up there. Like, I could do this right now and say, how much is this card worth? Post a picture of it, and you'll get a lot of people that will respond, and they'll say, hey, I sold this for X, or I heard this sold for X. And that's what I've done. And there's a Facebook group for 86 Fleer, for 69 Tops, for Skybox, there's a Lakers Facebook group, a Celtics Facebook group. You can go in these and find private sale values pretty well and just put them on a spreadsheet, take the average. Honestly, sometimes I will just go on Instagram and make a story poll. I've got enough followers where it's statistically significant in terms of what something's worth. So I'll just put out a question, say, hey guys, is this worth under $100, over $100, or under 10,000, over 10,000, or I'll like make a range or something like that. And it's good because it's almost like what people are willing to pay for it. And I've got auction houses that follow me, people that work at auction houses. So my polls have actually been pretty accurate. So even if you don't have a following like mine, I'm happy to do this for you too. Like, if you want to know what your card is worth, just hit me up at Boston Card Hunter, and I'll send a poll out for you, and we'll find out. If you can't really truly find it on eBay sold or 130 points sold, I'm happy to help you out and give you the information. So just hit me up. So 3 more really important things I want to mention so you don't get screwed. I've seen this happen time and time again. Number 1, the date matters. So, a price in 2018 is very different than a price in 2021 and 2024. So make sure you get the date right. It could be off by 10x if you get the date wrong. So find an appropriate date for something that has sold that you're holding. If you can't do that, just take the average. Number 2, shill bidding exists. eBay is not perfect. There are some bad actors in the hobby, and what shill bidding is essentially you'll have your buddy bid up a price so it looks higher than it is, and if it sells, then your buddy buys it, you pay the commission, who cares? And it does cloud eBay data a little bit. Auction houses, they have some protections against it. They don't allow sniping, and it's a little bit clearer, but in the end, all of this data is not perfect. The best data is what somebody's willing to offer it to you right now. If that's a trusted person, that is a great data point on the market value. The most important thing here, and this is the mistake I have seen repeated time and time again by new collectors, and has resulted in some horror stories. Whatever you do, under no circumstances, take your cards to your local hobby shop without any information or research and just say, hey, what are these worth? Most hobby shops in the world are great and they'll help you out, but there's a few out there, and I've heard stories where they'll tell them, yeah, I don't know, this isn't much, this whole lot's like $1,000, it's really worth 100. Or they'll take a Michael Jordan rookie card to them, they'll say, this is fake, but I'll take a shot at it, I'll give you like $500 for it, when it could be a $50,000 card. So be careful, arm yourself with information, That starts with eBay research, 130-point research, going into groups and asking people, networking and doing polls. Arm yourself with this information on what your cards are worth, and that will help you understand the value of what you're dealing with so you aren't taken advantage of. If you have any questions on any of these, like what are some of the apps I didn't really dive into, or hey, if you want help from me to find the value of a card, just leave a comment. Honestly, if you leave a comment with your card, whether it's raw or not, and your card and your grade, I'm happy to just reply back and say, this is what I think it's worth. I'll do the research for you. We'll make it fun. Thanks, everyone.